up, guys? So today we have a social media expert with us called Amana Ahmed, and she is incredible. I have learned so much from her, and I've only known her for like a matter of months. So hopefully you will also learn a lot today. She'll be on in just a second with us. So if you have any questions, as always, just here she is. Send me a message at the bottom of the screen in the chat box. You can ask any questions. I have already 2 questions for her, so we'll be asking her those as soon as she comes on live. Just send a request to be on the live chat, and hopefully it will be come through any second. Was a little bit awkward at the beginning of these because you never quite know how long things take. All of that fun stuff. Here we go. Here she is. So, as I said, send any questions, comments, anything you want. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yes, good, and excited, so excited because, you know, I haven't had you on live and it's exciting.
Oh, so how many of these have you been doing?
I think I've done, well, I'm in my 3rd month of these, so probably 9 or 10, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's every Thursday, well, it was 6 o'clock, and now it's 7 o'clock because people are coming onto Instagram a bit later. So, yeah, you know, it just kind of made sense to put them on a bit later. But yeah, so yeah, every Thursday, 7 o'clock, it's Let's Talk.
Oh, amazing. That's so cool.
So obviously today, let's talk social media.
Yeah.
So exactly, yay, I agree. Do you want to give a quick introduction of yourself and just explain what you do for people that are listening or people that can watch back afterwards?
Yeah, sure. So I am a social media consultant. I basically started, what that means is that I look after social media for small businesses, mainly small businesses, but small to medium-sized businesses, and I specialize in Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So it means not just posting stuff, it's basically coming up with a strategy for them to be able to use the social media for their marketing strategy, actually. And so I manage social media for them in terms of content creation, engaging, coming up with a strategy, trying to make basically their social media work for their business. So
like maximum engagement and all of that kind of, that jazz.
Yeah, exactly. How to make your bio stand out, how to make all the little things that kind of like, it's not rocket science necessarily, but you need to keep on top of it, which I find that when you're running your own business, keeping on top of something else. It goes
to the back of the line.
Yeah,
definitely.
Stuff changes in social media so quickly. So it's really good to be able to have someone who's an expert in that and is always up to date on what's going on. And on top of that, they kind of know how to, rather than it's kind of like I could potentially do my own accounts. I wouldn't do my own accounts because it would take me ages. I wouldn't necessarily know what I was doing. And it's exactly the same. I might as well just get an expert to do it who I know will do it right for me and get the outcome that I want. And that's exactly the same with social media. So I'm not, businesses can learn it themselves, but it will be a longer process. It will be something else on their plate for them to learn to do, and to be able to do it effectively like an expert can do it.
Yeah, like quickly as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense to bring someone in.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I always say to people, well, if you want to lose weight, get a personal trainer. If you want to improve your life, get a life coach. If you want to get your accounts done, get an accountant. Like, why are you trying to do it all yourself? Like, this is the whole point of these jobs. The reason these jobs exist is because you can't do it all on your own, and it's so important that people know that and people realize that, you know what, if I get her to do it, my life is going to be so much easier.
That's it. that's exactly it. It's really hard to keep on top of your own business and then be like, well, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to do that, because something is going to drop. Though you're juggling lots of balls, you're going to end up dropping something, and you're going to end up just finding it really difficult to be like, oh god, social media is such a drain. It's such a drain on me to have to do that, because I spend so much of my time. And a lot of the small businesses I speak to, that's exactly the issue, is that they say that they spend, oh, it just takes so much time. And it takes so much time because it's not your area of expertise. And you don't know all the different, you don't know all the different tools that you can use to speed stuff up. You don't understand all the different things that you can actually do to make it faster, or the techniques to be able to do that as well. So that's why that's why I say it's not rocket science to be able to do, but to be able to continually keep on top of it and to be able to have it effective, that takes time. That takes
definitely
time.
And to do it well, to do it, you know, yes, you can do it to a certain standard on your own, but you're never going to be able to do it well like an expert.
No,
you know?
exactly. And that's the same with anything, though. It's the same with anything. You're never going to be able to do, you know, people try and learn things the best they can, and they'll get by if they don't have budget, or they don't have the, you know, their company's new and it's not the right time for them. But as soon as people start earning enough money, their business is bringing in enough money, they want to outsource that stuff so they can concentrate on building their business, on
the actual business. Outsource what you can, basically. So I have two questions for you. The first one is from my Instagram story, story question, which is Reels, IGTV, post, stories, what's the best, where should we post?
Well, that all comes back actually to looking at where I always start off with any of my clients is to talk about who is your customer and where are they going to be. So with Instagram, yes, you're going to have your customers. It depends who your base is, but being on top of something like Instagram stories, I always think that Instagram stories are really great for boosting your visibility. So whenever I post, I always back it up with a story, because I find that some people are just looking at stories because they're quick and easy, and they're mainly fun and quirky. So people like that. So it's really, I understand that people are like, oh my God, but there's IGTV, there's stories, there's reels, which do we do? A lot of the things like IGTV, I just kind of think about, you just need to think of it as longer video. This live will be saved to IGTV. It will. Instagram isn't complicated. It's when you try and think about, oh my God, I have to learn all these other features. You don't. In IGTV is just a longer video, so it's 10 minutes. So it's anything from above 1 minute up to 10 minutes. Unless you're a verified account, then you can basically do what you want. But for most of us commoners, it is actually just 10 minutes. So that's what you just need to take away from that. And as with Reels, what's coming is it's just Instagram's version of TikTok. And I haven't I have had a go at it, but I haven't had a proper go as in posting anything on Reels at the moment. I'm still trying. It's so new. It's only 2 weeks old. I'm still trying to get my head around about how I can use it in the best way. But the benefit of Reels and getting on board easy, as was the same with IGTV, is that because Instagram has put out a new feature, it wants people to use it. When you start using it, it pushes you up their algorithm, and the fact that you're a user that's actually taking on board our new features will help boost that. So if you start doing lots of reels, you're going to get featured more. I know that on my explore page, when I have a look at the reels that are coming in, some of them are not big, like massive, great big people influencers. They're just Joe blogs that have managed to get onto my explore page. And because they're doing a reel, and that is the benefit of them. So when that's the actual question of what do you do with them, an easy way is just to have kind of like a structure, and to be like, well, okay, I'm going to do, my feed is kind of the area where I want my brand message to come across. It's got to be nice and slick and have it's the bit that stays there permanently, so it's got to look good all the time. But when you want to be a bit cheeky and a bit funny and take stuff that's like, off the cuff, that's what stories are for. They can be behind the scenes type things. They can be doing something funny. Even like, if you look at even Louis Vuitton, their feed's very nice, but on their stories, sometimes they get a bit cheeky as well, like, because it brings personality to you. So they'll show things behind the scenes, and, even from a big brand like that. So the benefit of stories is that they can be a bit cheeky, a bit they can be done quickly. They don't have to necessarily be 100% on brand. So that's why the benefit of stories. IGTV is just video. Instagram loves video. you should kind of be, if you're not using, if any video above 1 minute automatically goes onto IGTV anyway, so that's not very complicated. And reels, yes, I definitely get on board and start using those, and they can just have to get creative on how to start using them. So just you know, a lot of people will be doing the whole pointing thing to music, so you know, like, you know, I don't know, if I was going to do great content ideas and I'd say number 1, and I'd have number 1 come up and it'll point across, and I'd point across to it. There's going to be a lot of that first of all till people get used to it. So there'll be a lot of things pointing, and you know, but as you get used to it, there's loads of things you can get creative with, and it gives your brand further visibility and to show how creative you can be.
Okay, that's awesome. And also really helpful because I don't know anything about reels. I'm like one of those people that when new things come out, I'm like, I'm going to let everyone else test it out. If it's good, then I'll come around to it in like 6 months time.
Yeah.
But like, I never do stuff like when it's first out. I'm like, I don't trust this yet, so I'm just going to wait for other people and then I'll do it.
I know, it's quite fun to do.
I mean, now I'm gonna, because like of your encouragement, I'm gonna try it. So watch out for that. Okay, second question is, what's the quickest way to grow your following? I'm assuming that's Instagram, but I didn't ask.
Actually, the answer can be just for total social media as well. The quickest way to grow your following, I mean, there are 3 things that I always say about social media. One of them is you need to know who your audience is. If you don't know who your audience is, you're kind of wasting your time. You need to really understand your customer. Like, where are they? What do they want to see? Like, I create like user personas. So I'm like, you know, I have, for myself, I have my own business. I have 2 different types of users. I'm going to have those people that are going to require social media management. So companies that might hire a number of freelancers, companies that are starting to expand, but I also might have those one-man bands that basically can't afford to hire a social media manager, or don't really want to, but they want to learn about social media. So I have workshops as well. So I've separated my two clients, and I would do different types of customer bases. And I would say, okay, so for customer base 1, who is the social media, who can have social media, I might create them and say, oh, this is, you know, Lisa, and she's runs a small business. She's got 5 employees. I just try and get an understanding of who she is. So that's the first thing you would do, is try and understand who your customer is. The second thing is show up, be consistent. So one of the things people forget is that they kind of show up once a week. Once a week is fine, but if they do that consistently, that's okay. If you're going to show up, if you're going to show up, you're going to turn up 7 days a week. Then you're going to turn up 2 days a week. Then you're going to turn up for five weeks, and then come back on. That's going to make your social media following not understand what's going on. If you're going to do it twice a week, just show up twice a week. So my second point is you got to show up, and the third point is engagement. You have got to engage. If you don't engage with other people, you're really not going to grow at the fastest way you possibly can. I've seen accounts who are just start off, I mean, I'm not saying their growth is like instant like that, but what they've done is they've consistently showed up and they've engaged with people, and they're constantly getting new followers, constantly, whether that's, you know, 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 a day, but it doesn't matter what that is, they're constantly getting them. And because of those things, so they're kind of, those 3 things are about the understanding your audience, making sure that you show up consistently, and that you engage. Those are the 3 things. If you want to grow a following, and that works on any social media platform, is about understanding your customers, showing up, and making sure you engage. So that's for social media in general.
For everything, I mean, it makes total sense. Like when you say it, it's like, oh yeah, of course that's how you do it. But like, you don't think that, you know, like there's so, as you said before, there's so much else going on that you're like, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I have to do this. And it's like, well, no, if you just do 3 things, then that'll stand
you in really good stead. If you just do those things, if you just understand who your audience is, you show up consistently and constantly post. And you know, whether, like I said, it doesn't have to be every day. People will be like, oh my God, I have to post every day. You don't have to post every day. I've got clients who I do 3 times a week for, and I do another client 4 times a week for, and that's on Instagram. But because we constantly show up and we consistent in our messaging, we still, that account's growing really nicely and getting inquiries through DMs. So it's working because we're being consistent.
That's amazing. And that's, I mean, that's ultimately what your business account is for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it makes sense. So what would be like your preference? So I know you do Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, but what's your favorite out of the three?
Oh,
And
God.
why?
Well, I would say I probably work the most on Instagram. So I
Okay.
should say that is definitely up there as being one of my favorites. I love it because I love the creative side of it. I love being able to create posts that look pretty and that actually have a good call to action and that people want to engage with. I really love that. And I love looking at feeds, and I love looking at other people's pretty feeds as well, actually. So I do love Instagram. And but I'm a big fan of Twitter. It is a bit it's one of those ones that I think it's just great for having conversations with people, and you can reach people. I know you can do that in Instagram, but it's not as fast moving as Twitter to be able to just jump onto a conversation and just start talking to some random person. But they're on the kind of like, you can have conversations with people that are on the same level playing field as you, and they understand, you know, you're both having kind of like a little bit of banter or whatever it is as a business is great. And a great example of a great Twitter account is Innocent Drinks. And Yorkshire tea, they do fantastic.
I've seen a couple of Yorkshire tea tweets, actually. They're really funny.
Yeah, that's the thing. And one of the things that I find about Twitter is the only social, well, yeah, I'd say it's probably the only one that actually makes me laugh out loud when I read something.
That's awesome. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it just makes me laugh sometimes what people say. Or my favorite thing is putting gifts to something, and putting a gift to something as a response is always really funny because it can be taken any way, but it is I love Twitter. And I always say the difference between Twitter and Instagram is those people that like talking, like me, I love talking, they'll love Twitter. Those people that like the visual and the aesthetics of things, they're naturally drawn to Instagram. Because if you like just talking to people, Twitter is the one for you. That's the one that's going to really float your boat. But if you're into the things looking beautiful and looking at beautiful images, and you know, historically, I guess Instagram wasn't so much about the captions. Now it is. You know, people write essays.
Now it's more about
But historically, it was just about the image and the imagery. So I love, but I'm torn between Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is a bit of it can be hard work to do. So if you don't understand it, it can be hard work.
Yeah, I find Twitter very difficult. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I open it and I'm like, there's so much going on there. You know, it's just like it's so busy.
It's just kind of like think about conversations you want to engage in. I would say with Twitter, you'll get more value out of it by joining in conversations than you will by actually posting your own, hey, look at my blog or whatever it is. Because people aren't really interested in that. They're interested in conversations. And Twitter's the only, well, I guess the Instagrams, but Twitter actually gives your brand an actual voice. It gives them a voice that, like, if you look at Innocent Drinks, they're quite funny and cheeky and quirky. And I got that impression of them purely from their tweets. So that has made me think about their drinks in a different way, because the way they interact and the brand voice they give to Twitter, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's really, really good. And you can do that on Instagram as well, now that the captions are sort of like, you know, people put a lot of emphasis on the captions now. So you can do it on Instagram as well. But, you know, Twitter is definitely up there. But maybe I'm slightly more swayed by Instagram at the moment.
Well, I guess it depends, like, as well, what you're saying, like, it depends what sort of person you are, and it depends what sort of person your clients are.
And key to that, it depends who your audience are. So I might love Twitter, but if none of my audience are going to be there, I don't see the point on being on there myself. If I'm trying to get to small business owners or if I'm trying to get to a very small niche of business owners, and I find that they're not on Twitter, I'm really wasting my time. I'm just having fun on Twitter. I'm not, you know, I might as well just do it from my personal account then rather than a business account, because you need to be where your audience is. You might love LinkedIn, but if your audience isn't there, there's no point in posting on LinkedIn. You're kind of just like talking to people that aren't really going to buy into your product. So that's really, really key, is that you understand where are your audience.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely found that my personal audience is much more on LinkedIn than anywhere else. And I mean, I use Instagram because I enjoy it, but then I use LinkedIn because I know that's where my clients are going to be. And I like Instagram because you can post directly to Twitter and Facebook, neither of which I want to be on. Like, I don't want to do, you know, like, I don't want to be on all of them. all the time, because it's going to zap like all my energy, and I'm not going to have any energy left for the rest of my work. Like you said earlier, it's like, it is exhausting. So I know that I like Instagram because I know it's going to post directly to Twitter and Facebook. So I know that that's not very good for the algorithms for Twitter and Facebook. So what are your thoughts on direct posting? Or do you think it's better to be just like for, you know, post on each one separately?
I would say it's probably better to post on each one separately. However, that's not always possible. So if for a client, sometimes I do a cross post from Instagram to Facebook, but I actually automatically then go into Facebook, and what I will do is I will edit it so it looks a bit better for Facebook. So before, Facebook didn't like hashtags. Now the last, I think it's month or so, hashtags are becoming a thing now for Facebook. I don't know if they're working or not. I think it's too early to tell, but they're saying that yes, now start using hashtags. But before that, when they weren't saying about using hashtags, I would go into Facebook. I'd delete all the hashtags out, and I would just check the app mentions, because if I've mentioned a company or somebody, it might not be they don't come across nicely. So I would go in and edit it that way. So that's what I would do for Facebook. But there's a great tool, I don't know if you use it, called Ifit, which is good for, I'm gonna write it down. It's good for posting across to Twitter, or mainly I would say from Instagram to Twitter, because if you notice, when you cross post from Instagram to Twitter, sometimes it doesn't come across, it doesn't look very neat and tidy, and it kind of cuts off your words halfway, and it looks like you've just cross posted, which means you'll probably get less engagement from it. But if you use Ifit, it basically picks your image out from Instagram, puts the image in there, and then puts the text on top, so it actually looks like it's been organically posted. So it looks like it's come from Twitter as opposed to from Instagram. So if it's a great tool for that, and they're basically their little if it is like they're called applets, which are mini apps. So
that's so cute.
Basically that's what it is. So how they work is there's lots of different ones. So all you have to do when you're in if it is just kind of search Instagram to Twitter, and you just search that, and it'll come up with all the different ones, and you just add it in. So it's a really great little tool to use. That's
really awesome. I really like that. That's such a good tip. I like that a lot. That's really good. So like, I'm just thinking, like, so you work with mainly like standalone people, small businesses to medium size. Like, you've been doing this for 3 years, so you're like super experienced now. But what's the biggest thing that people come to you with? Like, what's the biggest problem that people come to you with? Like, I just need to do this, and like, they're so frustrated.
Is mainly around the fact that they don't understand social media in general, and they kind of want to they're like, oh, but I'm not getting any business from it. And that's why anyone who starts off with that, I'm like, okay, so what you need to do is we need to back up a bit and say, okay, the purpose of social media it's not like tactical marketing campaigns. Like, it's not like having an offer on and you start doing social media and you're going to see a real big uplift in people taking your service or product. That doesn't happen. Social media, well, it doesn't normally happen, but social media is about brand marketing. So it's about being front of mind and increasing your awareness to your customers or to your potential customers. So I always use this example of McDonald's. When McDonald's put an ad on TV, they are not expecting that day for an uplift in Big Macs or any of their burgers. They're not expecting to see that.
Right.
They're expecting to be, sorry, some call was coming through. It was actually for my daughter, so it wasn't for me.
Oh, I hope she's okay.
No, it was for her. It was one of her friends.
Oh, for her. Oh,
yeah. That's fine. So I've lost my train of thought. But what was that?
McDonald's.
Sorry. Oh yeah,
McDonald's.
McDonald's. They're not expecting that uplift. What they're expecting is to be front of mind. So they're expecting to be front of, when always some kind of filtering in that message to you about their food, about how they're changing their menu, how it's convenient, how it's healthier, and how it's becoming healthier, that sort of thing. But they're trying to get front of mind, so that when you see that you're like, oh yeah, it brings these sort of feelings to you, and you're kind of like, yeah, actually, I do feel like an Egg McMuffin, because I saw an advert the other day. I do feel like an Egg McMuffin. So you go and get one, and that's what social media does. What it does is it brings you front of mind to customers. So if you're constantly, it's one part of like a marketing strategy. It's not the total marketing strategy, but it is a big integral part of it nowadays, in that getting in front of your audience by being able to ask them questions, speak to them, give your brand story, do all of those things, and constantly showing up does make a difference. I mean, if I think to when I started my own Instagram account, I was like, I had loads of other social media managers follow me, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to get anything from this. But what I'll do is I will use Instagram as an example of what I can do for other customers. So I kind of started posting more and doing all of these things. And what I found was loads of exactly what I wanted to happen was loads of small businesses were then sort of starting to follow me, and I was like, this is the audience that I want local small businesses. They started following me, and then when I started, because they then started engaging, so the process is you start getting a following, that following engages with you, and now they're kind of like a warm audience that already believe in your brand, already are warm to you. So when you push up, oh, I've got a workshop coming up as well, or I've got this product, or I've got that,
it's sort of like that know, like, trust thing, isn't it? That's it. Calling again.
Yeah. So it's actually an easier sell to be like, well, this is already a warm audience, to be able to get them to click that link to buy, or to be able to actually let you find out a bit. You don't have to find out so much about that person because you've been following them for months or weeks or whatever it is, and you're bought into them already. So when they serve you up with a product, you're like, well, I already know you. I've already been
like, I already like you. I already trust you.
I already trust you. I kind of seen a couple of your products. People are, you know, if you're showing customer reviews, if you're showing all of these things,
like testimonials and stuff.
Exactly. People believe in you then, and then it's. I managed to get, you know, business from local businesses through that, and some people, like, just random that weren't even local, where they were like, oh, can you do one-to-one training for me? Can you help me with this? And I think exactly, like, Instagram's been fantastic for that. It's really, really good for that. But you have to be consistent, and you have to be adding value, and you know, no one, if I was just posting pictures of my dog, well, I haven't got a dog, but if I'm posting pictures of that, for example, then I'm not going to get loads of people interested. Of course. Well, I might get loads of people who are interested in dogs following me, but they're not going to be necessarily
but they're not going to, exactly. I have one more question for you, which is about advertising. So what are your thoughts on, like, Facebook ads, Instagram ads? Like, what are your thoughts on advertising, paid ads?
I think paid ads work really, really well. So Facebook ads are really good if you've got a great product and you know how to use that ad. Instagram ads, so there are two ways of doing Instagram ads, because you can do it through Facebook ads, as in through Ads Manager.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And just have it to Instagram, which is, I think it's more of a cost beneficial way of doing it, because you get more for your money that way. But for one of my clients, I use the Instagram in-app advertising as well. But I have Instagram in-app advertising. You have to have, there are only 3 really options for you. So you've got 3 goals, which are either send people to your profile, send people to DMs, or send them to your website. So if you're going to use Instagram advertising in-app, you need to have quite specific goals. Now, for one of my clients, our goal was, we need to get a bigger following at the moment. So we're quite happy to use in-app advertising to get people to our profile. So that's what we want to do, because we want them to click the follow button. We want them to be interested in what we're doing, because they haven't got the budget to do tons and tons of Facebook advertising. It's a longer way round of getting them to actually start purchasing from us, but by getting them to follow us, to engage with us. And then it's easier, because if they're constantly getting served up our products, they're going to slowly, they're going to be like, okay, you know, I am quite interested in this. I'm interested in it. I started following them, and now I'm interested in it because I'm enjoying all the products. So that's a longer way round. But Instagram ads, I do find, really work if you're quite specific on what you want from it. So if you're like, oh yeah, I want to do an ad, and I want to get business from, I want somebody to buy my products and get business from it straight away, that won't necessarily happen. What you'll have to do, what I say to a lot of my clients, is try and push some of your free kind of like lead magnets, those things like free downloads, via ads, because they work nicely. Because pushing a course on an ad is quite a big buy for people. They're like, oh,
especially if that's the first thing that they're gonna, like, they need
a
couple of more steps before that, really, don't they?
That's exactly it. So if they kind of, you push them to what's basically a lead magnet. So basically saying, oh, download a free guide for, I don't know, say it was content planning, download a free guide for content planning. Once they try and download it, you take their email address. So in order to get this, you need your email address. Then they're in your little, you know, pot of people who can, so now you've got an email subscription list where you can be like, actually, I'm going to start emailing these people with offers, with things, we're telling them about me, so that they're bought into what I'm offering. And then that will convert, that will eventually convert. Well, in most cases it will convert, that eventually somebody will be like, actually, you know what, I do need that course, or I do want that, and I'm on this mailing subscription list, and I might not read every email, but I do read some of the emails, like
in the back of your mind, and you're always seeing it come through, and you're like, oh, that looks interesting, but you may or may not actually decide to read it, but you're like, that kind of looks interesting, I'll save it for later.
Exactly.
And then, you know, you either read it and, you know, go to the link or whatever it's asking for, or you go, oh, you know what, I'm going to just delete that. Like, I'm not going to read it.
And the ads work brilliantly for doing stuff like that. So Instagram ads work really well for doing stuff like that.
Okay, that's good. And you think that, so depending on what you're aiming for, it's better to use either Instagram and Facebook, or just in-app?
Yeah, like in-app's a lot easier to use than Facebook ads, the Facebook ads, but in-app is a lot more limited. So if you really want to go for it, you know, you would use Facebook ads, but it's a lot more complicated.
A bit more expensive.
And it's probably more cost effective as in like the way it works, the amount of money you spend to be able to deliver that ad up. But it's Instagram ads are a lot easier in-app to do yourself, if you just have a basic understanding, and you can still get reasonably good results with them. It depends what you're trying to push, though. So everything is always dependent on something else. That's the
of course. Issue. I mean, it's like with anything in business, though. It's like you can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you're not a good business.
Exactly.
You know? And it's like, you know, like you can shout from the rooftops about your product, and if it's not very good, you're still not going to have any. Like, you know, you could do all the best marketing in the world and still have nothing because the product's rubbish. So you need both sides of the equation. Okay, so last thing, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
So the best way is just via my Instagram. So my Instagram handle is Social Factor HQ. And I
will tag it in the video.
Yes, so anyone can get in contact with me via Instagram, via DM. I've got all my contact details on my page as well if you want to email me, or any way of getting in contact with me. Perfectly happy with. I'm happy to answer any questions or anything that people may have, burning questions that they may have that may not have been able to get an answer to. I'll be happy to help.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, I encourage everyone to reach out, and I'll tag you at the bottom of the video so that everyone can have a little look and head to your profile. Hopefully click the follow button while they're there.
Yes.
And obviously recommend, if you know anyone that needs help with their social media, you know, you can always do a recommendation. We know our self-employed people do love a recommendation. Posted about them this morning. Always, you know, always makes our day. Always makes our day. So, you know, we appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. I've learned so much. It's been amazing. And hopefully you'll see some stuff implemented by the people that have watched it. And there'll be some, I'm sure, people watching later, because that's what people tend to do, which is fine. So yes, guys, thank you, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it, and thank you all for watching, and thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.